Grindelwald lies in the heart of the Bernese Alps, in a valley slowly sculpted by ancient glaciers and now sheltered by peaks that define its natural border. From the Meadows, the Eiger's north face is ever present, a still presence that guides the gaze. The valley descends through forests, clear streams, and paths that connect scattered orchards with trails climbing to higher ground. Here, the very landscape dictates tasks and rhythms. And so, an inevitable question arises. How does a community organize itself when the mountain sets the pace for every step? A land, shaped by ice. Grindelwald lies in a wide opening between the Bernese Alps, an ancient channel formed by forces at work over millions of years and now embraced by mountains that define its contours. The valley takes the form of a long hollow, supported by rock formations where light shades of limestone and bands of grey stone predominate. To the south rises the Eiger, its north face an imposing wall that dominates the view. Not far away stand the Wetterhorn and the Schreckhorn, two peaks that rise above 3,000 meters and whose imposing presence shapes the natural boundaries of the area. Their presence influences the air circulation, the direction of watercourses, and how spaces are distributed where human life can take root. None of this landscape arose overnight. The shape of the valley is the result of the combined action of ancient glaciers, persistent streams, and the constant erosion of the rock. In ancient times, enormous ice sheets descended from the heights, dragging fragments of mountain and leaving behind accumulations that are now recognized as moraines and stepped surfaces. When the ice retreated, gentle depressions, polished slopes, and riverbeds remained, still guiding the flow of water today. The Oberer and Unterer Grindelwald glaciers, although smaller than in the past, remain visible evidence of this long process. From their icy masses originate the Lütschiner and Schwarze Lütschiner rivers flowing through the valley before converging near Zweilütschinen. Their waters are fed by meltwater descending from elevations of nearly 3,000 meters, crossing meadows, forests, and rocky areas before heading towards Interlaken. Since ancient times, their banks have served as guides for mapping routes and marking divisions of the land, as each section of the riverbed affects the fertility of the surrounding area and the distribution of moisture. In the lower parts of the valley, between 900 and 1,200 meters above sea level, the soil is softer, favoring extensive meadows. As you ascend, the slope steepens and the landscape changes. Dense forests of fir, larch, and pine emerge, helping to stabilize the soil on the hillsides. Above 2,000 meters, the vegetation becomes sparse and hardy, adapted to a harsher climate. Alpine scrub thrives there, along with small flowers that sprout among rocks and plants that take advantage of brief periods of warmth to grow. Each altitude zone creates a distinct environment, the result of an adaptation process that has been underway for centuries. Animal life follows a similar pattern. Marmots dig burrows in the pastures and react immediately to any sound. Mountain goats and chamois move across steep slopes that would be impassable for others. Higher still, golden eagles take advantage of updrafts to cover great distances with little effort. In the wooded areas, foxes, wild boar, and deer appear, finding refuge in the dense vegetation. Birds such as great tits and alpine finches complete a system that depends on the topography to maintain its balance. The Bernese Massif also reveals its own past through the composition of its rocks. Limestone, schist, and sandstone predominate, materials that show layers folded by the pressure that formed the Alps. In some places, embedded fossils remind us that this area was covered by seas millions of years ago. The ravines and gorges reflect the combined work of internal earth movements and constant erosion, creating a landscape of diverse textures where every corner preserves vestiges of ancient times. The Alpine Settlement, the lesson of stone and wood. As the hillside descends, the village itself follows this movement, as if each building had learned to adapt to the natural rhythm of the terrain. Its layout doesn't follow an imposed plan, but rather a slow adaptation, born from generations who learned to read the mountain. The houses don't interrupt the contours. They rest on the firm points left by the earth and follow its curves without forcing straight lines. The settlement's growth followed ancient paths used by families and shepherds, and that memory persists in the current layout. The dwellings are grouped where the slope allows, forming small clusters that descend towards the center, almost like steps that the mountain has suggested over time. Alpine architecture defines the character of the place. Each house is built on a stone plinth that supports the weight and acts as a defense against damp. On this base rise solid wood walls assembled using inherited techniques. The exterior reveals the age of each building. Darker tones belong to older houses, while lighter colors indicate more recent renovations. Traditional oils and treatments have allowed these structures to withstand centuries without losing stability. The roofs follow a design typical of the valley, wide, sloping, and extending at the edges to shelter galleries and prevent water from accumulating. In many houses, the beams are exposed, bearing marks carved with tools from another era. A characteristic feature is the absence of nails. Carpenters used wooden joints that demanded absolute precision. In the oldest buildings, engraved numbers can still be seen, used to identify each piece during construction. The balconies complete this architectural language. Made of fir or larch, they retain railings with geometric figures and designs typical of the area. Although today they appear to be decorative details, originally they served to dry herbs or store objects during the warmer months. Over time, families added flowers and small ornaments that provided visual continuity without imposing uniformity. The orientation of the houses follows traditional principles. Many facades face east or south to maximize sunlight, while small windows balance brightness with the structure's solidity. Groups of dwellings are connected by cobbled paths that converge on a central space where community services are located. This seemingly spontaneous layout responds to the slope of the land, natural drainage, and the need for easy access to rural roads. On the outskirts of the settlement, farms occupy more open areas. They are connected by narrow paths and wooden bridges that cross streams. These buildings combine living quarters and stables within a single structure, separated by thick walls that insulate and retain heat. This type of construction was common in times when materials were scarce and the climate demanded efficient solutions. The same stone foundations, wooden structures, and wide roofs appear in sheds and barns that supported agricultural work. The town's layout avoids rigid grids. The streets follow the contours of the mountain, changing width and direction as the terrain allows. Some retain stone paving that recalls their past use for livestock, while others widen to form small squares housing workshops, shops, and meeting places. In the higher areas, natural terraces allow for the construction of houses with sweeping views of the valley. From there, the roofs slope downwards towards the center, creating a series of levels that follow the incline. In the central part of the village stand public buildings with simple lines. The church is notable for its light-colored stone tower and pointed roof, visible from various points in the valley. Around it are distributed old schools, communal houses, and warehouses whose wood has darkened with age. The continuity of materials and the absence of stark contrasts create a harmony that arises not from strict rules but from customs repeated over time. From farms to trains. The change that transformed Grindelwald. Before becoming the valley we know today, Grindelwald began as a series of slow, almost tentative arrivals that gradually shaped a small settlement without any pre-established plans or defined structures. It emerged step by step, built by families who found fertile soil and places to cultivate crops and shelter animals on these slopes. The earliest medieval documents mention groups from the Luechental who settled near the rivers, cleared areas in the forests, and built simple shelters on stone blocks. These early houses served more as basic protection than permanent dwellings, the result of practical decisions guided by the immediate possibilities of the environment. Agricultural activity was organized from the ground up. Small plots of land, animals that provided milk, meat, and labor, and practical knowledge passed down continuously. It was in this way that, between the 13th and 14th centuries, the valley began to acquire a more stable form. Each family worked their own plot of land, and livestock farming came to dictate much of the economic rhythm. The cheese produced on the farms became a distinctive product, perfected generation after generation, still preserving the essence of those early methods today. Growth proceeded at a leisurely pace, as if the mountain observed each human advance before allowing settlement. Timber from the forests and stone from the slopes provided materials for building more robust dwellings, constructing bridges over streams, and crafting tools capable of withstanding the alpine climate. The community prospered through cooperation. Neighbors collaborated on planting, repairing stables, or transporting goods. Social differences were minimal. Most shared a way of life based on manual labor, self-sufficiency, and what the immediate environment could provide. By the mid-15th century, Grindelwald was already appearing in documents of the canton of Bern. A small administrative structure existed that regulated pasture land, convened community meetings, and defined measures to protect against fires and landslides. The chapels and the weekly market became meeting points that helped organize daily life. Every record, every agreement between families gave consistency to the settlement without altering its agrarian character. The profound transformation would not arrive until many centuries later. Europe began to turn its gaze toward the Alps, drawn by peaks that seemed inaccessible and by landscapes that blended challenge and fascination. British and German mountaineers traveled to this region to contemplate mountains that, for them, were almost mythical. The Eiger and the Wetterhorn began to be mentioned beyond the valley floor, and the local inhabitants, accustomed from childhood to moving among ledges and steep paths, began to guide the newcomers. This opened a path that would forever change the local economy: alpine tourism. With the first travelers came new possibilities. Some families adapted rooms to receive visitors, offering simple meals, rest, and stories about the mountains. By the end of the 19th century, Grindelwald was already a popular destination for hikers. In 1893, work began on what would mark a turning point, the railway connecting the valley to Interlaken. What had previously involved hours of walking became a direct route, and with it, the flow of people, goods, and materials increased significantly. 3 years later, in 1896, construction began on the region's most ambitious project, the Jungfraubahn, the train that tunnels through the Massif to reach a high-altitude station. The line, opened in stages, changed the way the world viewed the Alps and placed Grindelwald at the heart of Swiss tourism. It not only attracted visitors, but also represented the beginning of an era in which the valley was linked to broader networks of exchange and communication. At the beginning of the 20th century, a unique balance prevailed. The older families continued to focus on agriculture and livestock farming, while the younger generations found work in hotels, workshops, or on the railway construction itself. The annual calendar combined rural seasons with tourist periods, allowing both spheres to coexist without one displacing the other. Knowledge of the land remained essential, useful for farming and also for guiding those drawn to the mountains. Life woven with work. In the daily life of the community, routine unfolds like a silent tapestry where each task finds its place and supports the next. Each family organizes its time around work that requires consistency, care, and a direct connection to the land. Nothing happens in isolation. Every action fulfills a function that keeps shared life moving. Agriculture sets a good part of that rhythm. The plots are worked with tools that hands have known for generations, adapting each movement to a terrain that changes slope without warning and demands constant attention. Crops are distributed according to the usefulness of each strip, ensuring that no space is left without purpose. Livestock farming completes this fabric that sustains the valley. The stables located on the outskirts of the village require constant attention. Families feed, clean, and check on the animals following a routine that has remained almost unchanged for decades. Dairy production preserves inherited techniques that maintain its artisanal character, precisely measured processes where experience and time are as indispensable as the tools. Each step is executed with an order that reflects the continuity of a craft learned through experience, not from manuals. Movement within the valley is naturally integrated into these activities. The routes adapt to the shape of the land, requiring the use of small vehicles, handcarts, or carefully balanced loads to transport tools, products, or pieces made by artisans. Nothing moves without a purpose. Each journey connects homes with production sites and with points where goods are exchanged. This constant coming and going creates a network that links individual work with the overall functioning of the village. Maintaining the roads and paths is another essential task. The routes leading to agricultural areas or commercial spaces require frequent maintenance. Loose stones, worn edges, or walkways needing reinforcement prompt immediate intervention. These repairs don't fall on a single person. They are carried out through the collaboration of neighbors who contribute time, tools, and the necessary expertise. Each adjustment keeps passage safe and demonstrates the value of daily cooperation. Local commerce adds to this network of trades that sustains the valley. Bakeries, butcher shops, and workshops function like small pieces that nourish daily life. Bakeries dedicate hours to kneading and baking products that require patience. Butcher shops rely on local livestock, processing foods that are staples on the table. Artisans work with wood, metal, or fibers to create useful objects, crafted with techniques that have endured because they continue to serve their purpose. The weekly market brings together producers from different sectors and becomes a meeting point where fresh food, utensils, and handicrafts are exchanged. Conversations between vendors and neighbors are based on trust and mutual understanding. Each transaction preserves practices that have given stability to the valley. Family life is intertwined with these activities, without strictly separating work and learning. Children observe, help, and participate according to their abilities. They learn to use basic tools, organize materials, or assist with simple agricultural tasks. The transmission of knowledge happens naturally, while the adults continue with their duties. Thus, the practices that sustain the valley are passed from one generation to the next without formal instruction. Collaboration among neighbors is constant. When a structure needs to be erected, animals moved, or a wall reinforced, families organize themselves quickly. No official announcement is necessary. Everyone knows what they can contribute and when to do it. This system of mutual support persists because it ensures the work moves forward and strengthens internal bonds. Cooperation isn't celebrated in words, it's expressed through concrete actions. The pulse of traditions. In the upper reaches of the valley, where the landscape transforms with each season, family traditions continue to act as a thread that binds the community together. Nothing originated as a solemn ritual. Each practice arose from rural life and has remained alive thanks to the continuity of those who inherited it. Among the oldest celebrations is the solstice, a gathering where the inhabitants light bonfires that announce the beginning of a new annual cycle. It doesn't seek to attract attention, but simply to bring together those who live here. Families collaborate, organizing every detail and thus reaffirming their connection to the land. Throughout the year, the parish coordinates other simple religious gatherings that maintain the traditional calendar and sustain the unity of the village. Music occupies a special place within these practices. The alforn, a symbol of the mountain world, resonates in celebrations and communal gatherings. Its sound demands mastery of the air and a prolonged apprenticeship that, for many, begins in youth. Alongside it, songs in the Bernese dialect survive, shared at family gatherings or by groups that rehearse regularly. These melodies evoke rural scenes and memories passed down through generations, becoming living pieces of the collective memory. Welcoming customs remain and define the character of the valley. Some families maintain the tradition of offering homemade products to those who arrive or settle in the community: breads, cheeses, or simple dishes made with care. Sometimes, wooden figures, crafted in small family workshops, are added, representing mountain animals or traditional symbols. These gifts express the importance placed on hospitality and mutual respect. In rural areas, practices related to livestock farming and agricultural work continue. At the beginning or end of each season, several families gather briefly to bless tools, check pasture boundaries, or exchange goods. They don't seek grand ceremonies. They simply mark the beginning or end of a cycle that sustains a significant part of the local economy. Participation in these meetings strengthens the internal organization, as each family contributes its experience and effort. The preservation of customs is also reflected in traditional trades. Carpenters participate in repairs and adaptations that ensure buildings retain the local style. Blacksmiths craft small pieces used in doors, furniture, and utensils. Although some workshops are modest, their continuity guarantees that the objects maintain the valley's identity. The transmission of stories constitutes another form of cultural heritage. Many families preserve tales about ancestors, significant events, or episodes in community life. These narratives are shared at family gatherings or neighborhood meetings, and over time, some have become part of the collective memory. The local school incorporates fragments of this oral tradition into its activities so that children learn about the origins of their community and the role of those who shaped it. Naming houses is a deeply rooted custom that holds profound meaning. Many homes are identified by names passed down through generations, rather than numbers. Some allude to the surrounding environment. Others commemorate former owners or family events. Although houses change hands, the names remain, serving as a bridge between past and present. Thus, each dwelling maintains a recognizable identity within the valley. Social events play a significant role in village life. Local associations organize cultural activities, craft workshops, and folk performances that keep community traditions alive. Traditional music competitions, artisan gatherings, and school exhibitions fill a calendar that fosters community participation. Sports clubs, many focused on alpine disciplines, allow children to develop skills from an early age under the guidance of experienced coaches. Welcome paths without getting lost. As the valley opened its roots to the outside world, the arrival of visitors seamlessly integrated into daily life without overshadowing what already existed. Today, this constant flow is sustained by services that have taken shape over several decades. Accommodations are scattered throughout different areas, from family homes adapted to receive travelers to spacious establishments that serve as starting points for those wishing to explore the region. Each building adheres to regulations that determine materials, heights, and location, ensuring that tourist infrastructure does not encroach on areas designated for rural work or alter the organization of the territory. Those who arrive seek trails, moderate climbs, and routes that allow access to higher elevations via cable cars and trains designed to operate on challenging slopes. Hiking is one of the most common activities, and for this purpose, there is a network of marked trails that connect viewpoints, shelters, and key points throughout the valley. These routes are maintained through continuous inspections, including checking markings, clearing trafficked surfaces, and adjusting sections where the slope requires more attention. The goal is for travelers to move safely without interfering with areas designated for cultivation or grazing. Alpine sports have a specific place in the valley. Areas designated for these activities are selected after technical studies that analyze carrying capacity, risk levels, and access. The installation of equipment and services follows protocols designed to minimize the impact on the land and avoid occupying areas essential to the local community. In this way, visitors can enjoy sports activities without displacing rural functions that remain vital to the valley's livelihood. Tourist transportation is carefully organized. Buses, trains, and cable cars connect the main points of interest, while private vehicles have access to parking areas designed to prevent congestion and keep internal roads clear for agricultural activities or daily commutes. Traffic regulations protect narrow roads that serve productive functions and would not withstand heavy traffic without deteriorating. This regulated management of vehicular traffic allows the different uses of the land to coexist without difficulty. The coexistence of agricultural work and tourism depends on practical agreements. The families who cultivate the land maintain precise boundaries around their plots and barns to avoid interference. Discrete fences, information panels, and clearly marked access points guide visitors without hindering their movement and, at the same time, preserve the space that agriculture requires. These measures did not arise in response to a conflict, but rather as part of a system that understands that two different activities can share the same territory if simple and clear rules are respected. To protect the environment, there are policies that regulate the type of construction permitted and the use of sensitive areas. Some zones do not allow new buildings, while others only authorize structures with specific characteristics. Controls are also applied to the management of waste generated by visitors and local businesses. Sorting and collection systems are used that must meet defined standards and are reviewed as circumstances require. The conservation of the valley is also maintained thanks to customs passed down by resident families. The inhabitants teach responsible land use practices, maintaining paths, managing resources wisely, and protecting areas that require constant attention. These teachings aren't rigid rules, but rather habits that young people acquire from childhood. Visitors to the valley unknowingly encounter a system that works because it's part of the daily lives of those who have lived here for generations. The presence of tourism in the local economy is evident in the jobs it generates. Accommodations, transportation, specialized guides, equipment rentals, and businesses related to mountaineering activities form a sector that complements agriculture, livestock farming, and handicrafts. No single activity completely replaces another. Each contributes according to the season and the valley's needs. This combination of trades allows the economy to remain stable without abandoning its traditional foundations. Four seasons for the same valley. As the year progresses, the valley imposes a silent order that no one needs to explain. The seasons organize community life through visible changes that rearrange work and daily routines. Each period introduces its own pulse, as if the land were adjusting its rhythm according to a calendar that has guided generations. Spring inaugurates the cycle with a phase of preparation. The inhabitants inspect fields, repair fences, and distribute tools that have been stored away. During these days, the soil is once again open to aeration and leveling, and areas designated for cultivation and grazing are marked out. More than the start of new tasks, it is a time to coordinate the use of space and plan for what is to come. Summer brings more intense activity. The marked trails welcome those who travel the paths while families focus on livestock management. The animals are moved to higher ground, where shelters serve as refuges and storage areas. Maintaining these spaces involves checking access points, securing structures, and ensuring that established boundaries remain clear. Simultaneously, agricultural activity shifts towards the gradual harvesting of products that require organized storage. Each family organizes its schedule according to crop ripening, creating a consistent sequence of tasks. Autumn brings a transition that reorganizes priorities. Field production decreases, and the final harvest begins. In the barns, reserves are sorted, supplies are organized, and wear and tear accumulated during the peak months is repaired. Rural roads require careful attention, as they must be in suitable condition for the passage of carts and service vehicles. This period is also used to repair fences, adjust tools, and reinforce structures heavily used during the summer. Furthermore, the community takes advantage of this time to review agreements regarding land use and coordinate shared projects that will be carried out later. Winter brings a different rhythm, more focused on the interiors of workshops, barns, and warehouses. Tasks are reorganized to prioritize maintenance, repairs, and reserve management. During this season, winter tourism gains importance. The areas designated for specialized sports operate with trained staff and specific routes that avoid interfering with spaces used by the local community. Residents dedicate part of their time to inspecting structures, securing materials, and maintaining access points, while the valley reduces external activity. This phase combines internal tasks with community actions that allow the territory to maintain operational continuity even when certain areas see a decrease in use. The transition between seasons alters the valley's appearance without requiring lengthy descriptions. Meadows take on new configurations, crops are redistributed, and grazing areas are organized according to the demands of the annual cycle. Each season contributes defined tasks that integrate seamlessly without disrupting the year's continuity. Spring opens up spaces, summer sustains production and mobility, autumn reorganizes what has been accumulated, and winter focuses on internal work. There are no abrupt breaks between these periods, but rather a progression that maintains the valley's functions in balance. Grindelwald's seasonal structure does not seek symbols or added interpretations. It functions as a practical mechanism that defines which task corresponds to each time of year. The seasons don't operate as an emotional framework, but rather as an organizational system that distributes efforts, sets priorities, and allows the valley to function without interruption. This regularity has ensured the continuity of the territory and its capacity to receive visitors without disrupting its characteristic balance. The home as the core of daily life. Behind the wooden facades that characterize the valley, the homes reveal interiors organized around everyday life. Fireplaces located in central points mark the area around which the family structures its daily activities. Nearby are spacious tables and shelves that organize frequently used items. The kitchens maintain a practical design, with surfaces designed to facilitate daily tasks and furniture that prioritizes functionality. These are not spaces conceived for ostentation, but rather environments where each element fulfills a specific function within the domestic rhythm. Food preparation occupies a fundamental place in the home as it organizes time and distributes responsibilities. Breads, sausages, and preserves require prior planning and a sequence of actions that each family adapts according to its routines. The work is planned calmly and executed with precision, allowing culinary methods to remain consistent over the years and continue to be integrated into daily practice. Intergenerational coexistence is a constant in these homes. Household organization adapts to shared needs. The pantry, tools, and daily tasks are managed according to practical agreements that each family has maintained for a long time. There are no rigid roles. Responsibilities are adjusted according to the rhythm of the day and the availability of each member. Inside, the decor maintains a direct link to family history. Old photographs, disused utensils, and carved pieces adorn the walls as witnesses to activities that marked the history of each home. They don't function as recent decorations, but rather as objects preserved for their historical or functional value. For those who visit the valley, it is evident that each element is part of a domestic continuity that remains alive. Internal chores maintain a consistent structure. Cleaning and organizing the furniture follow a routine that is repeated throughout the year. Tools used daily are checked, adjusted, or replaced according to the demands of family activities. Shared spaces are reorganized to ensure that everyone can use them without difficulty. This planning allows each member to have defined responsibilities and for the home to function as a system in which each action is linked to the next. The transmission of domestic customs plays a central role within the home. It is not limited to cooking or maintenance. It encompasses how to receive visitors, organize gatherings, and preserve family documents or old photographs. These practices are not taught through written rules. They are learned by observing and participating in the moments when the family puts them into practice. This continuous process ensures that each generation incorporates habits that maintain internal order. At the community level, life in the valley follows a structure based on cooperation. Families participate in activities that strengthen social cohesion. Children learn from a young age the importance of helping with simple tasks, while adults take turns with duties that affect the overall functioning of the settlement. There is no formal institution that directs these activities. They are sustained by customary agreements that have guided local life for decades. Where history lives on, in this territory, the imprint of decisions made centuries ago continues to influence daily life, and it is this continuity that sustains Grindelwald's identity. Inherited practices and community organization have shaped a model that has remained steadfast over time. The generations that inhabited the valley preserved working methods, domestic habits, and family dynamics that allowed the town to function without interruption, even as new economic activities gradually began to be incorporated. It wasn't an abrupt change. Each adjustment was integrated without altering the foundations that distinguish the settlement. This continuity is also evident in the way the territory remains organized. The enduring nature of those ancient decisions is recognized in everyday elements. The location of houses, the orientation of paths, and the division of land follow criteria established when life depended on the precise management of agricultural spaces and the routes that connected the different points of the valley. These patterns remained in effect and, over time, adapted to new needs without altering their initial logic. The environment is an essential element in this system. The shape of the valley, the mountains that restrict movement, and the trails that connect grazing areas with inhabited zones determine how tasks are distributed throughout the year. These elements don't simply serve as a visual backdrop. They influence mobility, land use, and the location of each activity. Grindelwald doesn't just adapt to the landscape, it uses it as a tool that defines daily schedules, routes, and priorities. The valley's future development is managed through regulations that seek to preserve the territory's coherence, while the community maintains practices that allow for the continuity of trades, customs, and methods passed down within families. The combination of formal administration and tradition creates a framework that sustains the internal organization without straying from its history. At the end of the journey through this valley, it becomes clear that Grindelwald doesn't just dazzle with its mountains. It surprises with the way daily life is woven into the tranquility of the surroundings. Here, each day unfolds without fanfare, guided by gestures that have endured beyond the passage of time. The landscape is not a backdrop, but a companion that guides decisions and rhythms. In this place, simplicity transforms into a form of wisdom. Those who pause to observe understand that there are still territories where harmony is not sought, it simply happens. And in that stillness, Grindelwald reveals his true strength.